Hi, I'm Ruth Lund. I'm the president of the Legacy Center. We're a firm that's dedicated to coming alongside CEOs and their leadership teams to help them build and protect their values-driven culture. We bring measurement and process to something that has for so long felt really hard to get our arms around. And as this pandemic season has been winding on, we decided to create a series of interviews with values-based leaders, people who are really walking the talk and navigating this difficult season with their company values intact and their own personal values really at the fore of their decision making. To kick us off in the series, we've invited David Baker, president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to share with us his thoughts on leading through crisis. And this is a really tremendous year for the Hall. It's the 100th anniversary of the NFL. A lot of celebrations that have been planned, and of course, the gold jacket enshrinement later this summer. So a lot of tough decisions needing to be had. I think you'll find his perspectives really encouraging and challenging and enlightening. So enjoy. Today, we've got David Baker, a friend for many years and president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And David, as I was getting ready for our interview, I was thinking back to the first time you and I met. And believe it or not, it was in 2014. I think you were about 6 months into your new role there at the Hall. And I remember when I met you, man, you cut such an imposing figure. And so I was immediately kind of blown away just by your presence, by how you carried yourself, how you spoke. But then the thing that really captured us, the team, as we were there with you, was really the stature of your vision for the Hall, that you had such a deep passion for. And it came through in everything that you were talking about. And that really even overshadowed your physical presence to me. So thank you for being with us. Thanks for being the kickoff to this conversation. And as I mentioned to you before, we are looking to come alongside leaders right now and just share what we've learned, what we're learning in the midst of this, and hopefully help raise up leadership around us in business, in the social sector, in the medical field, but just offer some words of wisdom to it. So thanks for being with us today.
Great to be with you, Ruth. You bet.
So let's start with, wow, this is a big year for the Hall. 2020. So tell us a little bit about that to start out with, kind of the context of what you're leading through.
Well, this is a big year, and we'll find out how this year goes very shortly. But we were planning on celebrating, last year was the NFL's 100th season, and September 17th of 2020 would have been the 100th anniversary of the founding of the league right here in Canton, Ohio, where we have the Pro Football Hall of Fame on September 17th of 1920. So it's a big event, but here we are, 75 days before, and we're trying to figure out, what we're going to do. We are planning on moving forward on August 6th, 7th, and 8th, and have the luxury of doing so because we're already sold out for the most part. But we've got 5 different contingency plans. What if it's rescheduled 2 weeks back or 3 weeks back or going all the way to next year? And we don't know which one of those is going to occur, but we have to be ready for anything that occurs.
Boy, David, that complexity of such extraordinary uncertainty is what all of us, in greater and lesser degrees are navigating. I think it's pretty extraordinary days. And, we wanted to talk to you, and I wanted to talk to you about the power of culture specifically because, as I look back on what you have accomplished in your lifetime leading up to where you are today at this extraordinary moment with the NFL and the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you've worked in politics. You were the mayor of Irvine, California. You were commissioner of the Arena Football League. You were in business. You were the managing partner of Union Village, which was that integrated healthcare system before heading to the Hall of Fame. So you've had such, extraordinary experiences. And I know that not all of them have been a walk in the park. And yet, today, I'm sure you probably find yourself in one of the most extraordinary times of your leadership yourself.
Yeah, and I don't think that's exclusive to me, Ruth. I think we're all going through that right now. And yet, in some ways, I think that in God's providence, each of the experiences, whether it's being a mayor or whether it's being the commissioner of the Arena Football League or a managing partner of a great project or whatever it is, I think that all those experiences have helped me to get to where I'm at and gives me some tools in my chest that I can rely on from the past. But right now there's enormous uncertainty out there, and one of the things that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is that our mission has driven us quite a bit. Our mission and our vision and our values, and we spent a lot of time on that. My first 6 months there at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that's really what we accomplished. And our mission is to honor the heroes of the game. It's not about the worship of football heroes. It's about honoring heroes of the game, to preserve its history, learning how these guys established excellence. Then you can learn how to be a better executive. This game that we honor here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is a pretty good metaphor for life. When you go into a game, and I've been to and through a lot of them, I'll tell you, we don't know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to win. You don't know the adversities you're going to come, so you have to huddle up. You have to get on the same page. You have to believe in each other and trust each other. You have to make adjustments because sometimes what you're planning for, that other team didn't do. Sometimes you also have to have forgiveness, which is an incredible part of leadership, and that's forgiveness for ourselves as well as our team and others. Because when you try a long bomb touchdown and you're in the open and you drop the ball, you better forgive yourself because on the next play you got to go again. Mm-hmm. And we have to have a vision for the future and at the same time have this balance of being in the present and not denying where we're at.
When I hear you sort of reel through your mission, one thing I can say to people listening is that every time I have been in your presence, you have repeated that. I felt like at one point I knew your mission better than our own, so yeah. I mean, that's real, but that's part of leadership, right? Is to make sure people are 100% grounded in why are we doing what we're doing? What are we here for?
Yeah, there's so much of that is in my DNA. My mom and dad couldn't read or write. And if it wasn't for sports, I wouldn't have gone to college. I wouldn't have gone to law school. Wouldn't be talking to somebody impressive like you right now. Mm-hmm. But I think that there have been so many lessons that I learned. And I think it's about getting up when you get knocked down. It's about going on when you don't think you can go on any longer. And a lot of us find ourselves in that situation right now.
Seriously.
And so I draw a lot of strength from that. And that mission, to me, is far more important than Dave Baker. I actually become greater by becoming a part of something that's bigger than me. And by the way, we think it's more important than football. It just uses this platform of football that is incredibly popular, from which to deliver the message that we're all part of one team. And there's lessons that we can learn from it.
Well, that translates into the organization. It always does, David. And I wonder about, when did you sort of have your own personal aha that, as because you've been drawn into leadership, you've been a visionary leader probably most of your adult life, if not all of it. But when did that reckoning or that understanding that your values, who you are, was setting the tone in the culture of whatever organization you were leading? Like you had to pick up that mantle because nobody else was going to be able to carry it. It was yours. When did that kind of dawn on you as a leader?
Well, I'm not sure it was my aha moment, but I think it was my wife's aha perception. When I was called by a friend of mine who's the chairman of the sports division at Korn Ferry and asked if I wanted to apply for the job as president of the Hall of Fame. I was involved as a managing partner, as you mentioned, of Union Village. And I thought I was involved in something really big. And a lot of our wealth was tied up in that effort. And, I knew the hall and knew my predecessor, thought the hall's great, loved the guy that preceded me. But frankly, I kind of gave him my best Will Ferrell impression and told him I was a really big deal working on something else that was really big, and respectfully declined. And he sent me the job description and said, "Hey, take a look at it. If you change your mind, let me know." And at the end of the day, I was traveling and I was cleaning up my email and I sent it to my wife. And I said, "Hey, never guess what happened today," kind of dismissing it. And she called me 15 minutes later and she said, "Hey, we're going to go do this." And I said, "Well, why do you want to do this so much?" And she said, "Have you read this thing?" And quite honestly, I hadn't even read it. And she said, "You need to read this because this is what you believe."
The power of mission, the power of mission. And those organizations and those leaders, David, that have done a stellar job in holding that banner up, leaders who have clarified that for their organization. In other words, they've taken it out of their heads because they're thinking it, right? And they have their expectations for everybody. But the ones who have really said to their folks, here's how we're going to do this together. Here's how we're going to show up to the game together. These are the behaviors. These are the values that we're going to filter our decisions through. And I know, you've done that so well at the hall. You had a really fantastic group of charactered people that you inherited and then that you added to. So as you think about your team right now, and you think about the foundation that you guys have been working on together for 6+ years, and then even before you were there, right? What you walked into. How's the culture holding up? How are the values serving you right now, David?
There is a wonderful line that I've thought about a lot recently from Abraham Lincoln, where he said that he has often been driven to his knees because he had no place else to go. And to me, that's true of our mission at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think as all of us emerge from these stay-at-home orders to kind of begin getting connected again back in the world, I think there is fear. I think there's trepidation. There's enormous uncertainty. And most of us, if we had our choice, and myself included, would rather stay right here at home inside this bubble and we'll be okay. But we can't do that. We got to move forward. This is an opportunity to begin again. As we emerge from these stay-at-home orders, we start over again. How can we do this right? I'm a guy who's worked 24 hours a day sometimes, and I didn't take time to eat right or get physical exercise. Well, now that we're going forward, how can I do it right? How can we trust each other? How can we communicate better? This is a real opportunity. It's going to be a challenge. But this is a real opportunity that nobody else, I think, in the history of mankind has had quite this way. This is the first worldwide pandemic where we have voluntarily shut ourselves down in this country and the world. And as we emerge from it, okay, how can we do things right? Forget about what we did before. How can we do something right? And the goal isn't how we're going to be a month after we come out of this. The issue is where are we going to be a year from now, and 5 years from now, and 10 years from now? And how can I do it right as we come out of this so that it has a lasting effect that's consistent with our mission?
You've said a couple things there that I think are just so key for right now and for leadership. One is this idea that we better build our capacity to get, I like to use the language, at ease with uncertainty, which, by the way, is something that is a really high level human skill, I think. I think it just it's a lifetime journey to get to that point. So leading to that, first of all, doing our own self work to get ourselves comfortable with it, right? And then being able to lead in a way that your team feels safe enough and solid enough, even though we're on, hey, we're going to be on shifting sands for a while, but we're going to be okay. I think that who is it? Jim Stockdale. The Stockdale paradox has just come up so many times, David, where, when he got out of 7 years in a prisoner of war camp, and they asked him, how did you get through it? And he said, basically through his interview with Jim Collins, I think Jim actually teased this out, but the two things that he did was, number one, had absolutely no doubt that they were going to prevail, that they were going to survive this, and that it would be a kind of a defining time in his life. But then the other one was this rock solid grip on reality, not being so overly optimistic that they would have their knees cut out from underneath them. They knew that they could be tortured any day. But this paradox that they were able to hold in place, and I think that's what we're being charged to do right now too. And that's what I'm hearing from you, which is I think so critical.
Yeah, I think as leaders we're charged with knowing where we're going to go.
Yeah.
And if we don't know where we go, any road will get us there. And frankly, if we don't know where we're going, nobody's going to follow us. I also think you have to have a certain confidence in yourself and your past experiences, but mostly in your mission. But at the same token, I think you have to have a certain humility. I've spent much of my life with, powerful people, frequently, powerful men in particular in sports and in business and politics. And, we normally get here because we did something right. And it might have been timing, or it might have been a couple things in a row. But because of that, there's an enormous pressure to think that you're right on everything.
Yeah.
And nobody is. And so how do you have that confidence, but at the same time have that humility that, hey, I don't know the answer to that, but we're going to find it out. We're going to huddle up. We're going to make this happen. There's that old African proverb that I know you're aware of, that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
I love that. I'll tell you, in the work that we have done with leadership teams and individual leaders, if we were working with a team that had an undue amount of arrogance, we were slogging uphill for a long time, because they were just not going to be willing to look at what were some of those wrinkles that they needed to iron out together. And so in my mind, one of the most powerful leadership characteristics is humility, because you're not going to get very far without that capacity to examine and to keep refining and sharpening the sword. So that to me is one of my favorite leadership values. But I want to kind of flip it to you, and I'm going to ask every person that we talk to this question. At some point, I hope it's many, many years from now, but at some point you're going to close the door on your career at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it's, I know you will look back, and your team will look back on just a phenomenal experience and phenomenal impact, but you're going to leave a legacy. And that legacy is going to consist of values that were reflected in decisions that you made and how you treated people consistently over time. And people will say, David always did this. David showed up with this. So if you were to write that story and say, these are the three things, these are the three values that above all else, I hope people will have known me by, what would they be?
I may answer this a little bit differently, Ruth, but I think I mean it very sincerely. I think in my life, one of the areas that I hope I've grown beyond was a lot of times I cared too much about what other people thought. Mm-hmm. And to me, in my experience now, I don't read the newspaper. I've got some good people around me. If there's something I need to know, they'll bring it to my attention, and then we can get into it deeper. But what I've learned is if the newspapers or other people are saying something about me and it's good, I don't need that big head, to be honest with you. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. And if it's bad, quite frankly, I shouldn't let it keep me from doing what's right anyways. But having said that, I do understand your question. And if there were three things I would like to portray in my life that they could say, would be that he cares, and he cares. I want to be passionate about what I'm doing. And I don't know whether I'm here one more day, one more week, one more year, or one more decade. But during the time that I'm here, I want to care about that mission. I want to care about the people I'm doing it with. I want to care about my team. And I don't want to care just a little bit. I want to care a lot. And I don't want to be afraid of making, of losing, to be honest with you, because I want us to go do things that we've never done before. And you only do that by, caring more and caring more about how far you can go. And so I put a high value on caring. I don't want to in any way, for any of your other leaders that might be watching this, say that I'm a good leader or that they should be like me. But I would say I understand the struggle. And I think that what I've learned from my Hall of Famers is that, frankly, as fans, when we're with them, we all think that they fell out of bed great. And we think that they were born just bigger, faster, stronger. But every single one of them had to fight to be great. In our business, excellence is about snot coming out of your nose and blood coming out of your mouth and a dirty uniform and a whole lot of losses on the way to winning. I think there's great opportunities ahead, but it's not going to be without some courage, some character, some commitment, learning some leadership along the way.
David, thank you. Thank you. I think we've got so much to chew on from what you've shared today. I think, you're absolutely right. Every single one of us is going to face pressures. We also know diamonds come from tremendous pressure, and I'm a big believer in the capacity of the human spirit to learn through challenges. Thank you for sharing so much of what you've learned. I just appreciate you and your heart and the model that you are for all of us, and the fact that you're a fellow traveler too. We're finishing this journey, so thank you, and best to everybody at the Hall. Please send the team at the Legacy Center just thinks of you guys, and hope that the rest of your planning and preparations for celebrations for 2020 go off brilliantly for all of you.
Thanks, Ruth. I appreciate how much you care. Like I said, you get to be great by playing with people who are better than you are, and you have made me better. So I look forward to seeing you soon at the most inspiring place on earth, okay?
Love that. Would love that. Take care.
Thank
Give
you,
my best to Colleen.
I will for sure. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with David. He sure has a lot of wisdom to share, and hopefully there were some nuggets in there for you to take away for yourself and your team. If you ever want to talk about culture and how to bring some intentionality around your organization's culture, reach out to us at the Legacy Center. We'd love to talk with you. But until then, stay sane and stay well as we navigate the rest of this pandemic and the rest of 2020. Surely there are good things ahead, so be well.